Penguonos for everybody, right? Everyone deserves a penguono. Hello, I'm Kristen, also known as Voolenvine, here on my YouTube channel, on Instagram, on Ravelry, and pretty much everywhere else on the interwebs. And as always, I'm so happy that you're taking some time out of your day to chat about all the knitting, all the sewing, all the making, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down this week. And yes, I'm back from yet another 2-week hiatus. Thank you so much for bearing with me. 2 weeks ago, I decided to kind of take a little impromptu vacation, but then it didn't dawn on me that the following week was going to be 4th of July weekend here in the United States. So yeah, that was a little poor planning on my part, so I apologize if you were hanging out waiting for a new episode. I'm back this week and lots to catch you up on, as per usual. So yeah, I hope you guys are down for that. I'm trying to think what type of announcements I have before I get into what I've been making, but you know, if you are in the US, I hope you guys had a really fun, relaxing holiday weekend. Dennis and I, we took a quick impromptu trip out to Connecticut, got some beach time in, and yeah, we just had a really nice, relaxing time. I'll talk more about that in the BLATHER segment at the end of the episode, where I chat about what's been going on in my life, aside from making and knitting and sewing and all that good stuff, in case you care to stick around for that. We do have some knit-alongs and make-alongs that are currently underway. We have the Box O Sox knit-along, and then we also have the Year of the Garment knit-along, which are year-long knit-alongs, and then we have the Uncomfort Zone KAL, which is actually, I extended the deadline yet once again to August 1st because Ravelry, they had actually closed off new registrations for a time being, but now they're open. So, you know, I wanted everyone a chance to participate. I wanted to give everyone a chance to participate in the make-along, whether or not you were part of Ravelry or not part of Ravelry. So I did tweak the guidelines a little bit. So if you were not able to sign up for Ravelry during that time, I think they are allowing it now. You are still able to partake in the make-along over on Instagram. Just use the hashtag, which I'll pop down in the down bar below. So everyone is welcome to join. To be honest, I'm actually super excited that the deadline's extended to August 1st because it's just it's actually turning out to be a really, really fun, inspiring make-along where everyone is trying new techniques, new color palettes that they're not used to, trying patterns that they've been wanting to cast on but unsure of because it's not something they normally gravitate towards. So a lot of experimenting going on, a lot of you know, confidence boosting when it comes to trying new things. So definitely hop on over to that Ravelry group, that thread in the Voolenvine Ravelry group if you haven't already, or if you're not part of Ravelry, you can just hop on over to Instagram and search the hashtag and you will stumble upon many wonderful, inspiring patterns that, hey, you know, maybe something that you might want to try at some point. But yeah, it can be anything. It can be knitting, can be sewing, can be crocheting, weaving, what have you. The world's your oyster when it comes to this knit-along. So anyway, yeah, that is, I believe, it for announcements. So before I get into what I've been making this week, just a quick word from my lovely and amazing sponsor, Skillshare.
Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, tech, and more, even sewing and the fiber arts. I love learning new things when it comes to knitting, sewing, photography, or whatever crafty rabbit hole I happen to be diving down. And because I know you love learning new things too, I partnered up with Skillshare and they are offering my viewers 2 months free to try their platform. So give Skillshare a go and learn something new. Just click on the link in the description box below, entering the code at checkout, and enjoy! And thanks, Skillshare!
And welcome back. All right, I have a few works in progress to share with you, but I have to admit I have been in a kind of knitting slump these past couple of weeks. I guess it's like a combination of just feeling overwhelmed by all the things on my needles at the moment and just realizing I have to get so many things off my needles and also feeling kind of uninspired by what I'm working on. So yeah, these past few days I'm looking over at the corner of my craft room and there's like a basket full of unfinished objects, or UFOs as we lovingly call them in the knitting community. Yeah, and I definitely went through them and pulled out some projects that I do not plan on finishing, that I'm just kind of humming and hawing over, that at the time seemed like a really good idea to cast on, but at the end of the day, I'm just not going to finish them. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a separate video on that. But yeah, I'm definitely at a point where I need to clean the slate, start over, start fresh, and just be more conscious, or is that conscious casting on? I'm making stuff up now. Just more intentional. I think that's the word. More intentional about the things that I cast on, as opposed to just casting on things frivolously. Although I don't see anything wrong with that. Sometimes you just need one of those cast-ons, which is exactly why I cast on a Ripple Bralette by Jessie May Martinson, which everyone and their monkey's uncle is casting on at this point, because here on the East Coast, it is hot. Summer is upon us. The struggle's real. The air conditioner's not on and I'm dying, my friends. Seriously, my hair is just in, I don't know. There's no excuse for what's happening here. It's up. It's up. Anyway, this is something I normally would never cast on for myself, because something about knitting a tank top in wool, it's an oxymoron contradiction. It's just something that I would never think to cast on, but it's such a cute pattern, and I'm thinking, you know, if I have some yarn in my stash that I'm not, like sock yarn, that I don't really like to use for sock yarn, but it's light enough where it could easily pass as like a lightweight yarn, if that makes any sense. But this is some Barnyard Knits in their Winterberry colorway, and for some reason I was staring at the skein and I was thinking this would make a really cute ripple bralette. I'm not making the bralette size version of it. I'm actually extending the body so it goes down to my belly button. I do want it to be kind of like a crop, but not as short as the bralette, because I do want to be able to wear it out, maybe over a skirt or a pair of shorts. I don't know, but yeah, I'm definitely extending the body so it is more like a tank top rather than a bralette. And I will say that I did knit one part of the boob part, one triangle for, you know, the boob area, and I tried it on and I realized it was still way too short, so I had to rip it all the way back out again, and yeah, I knit the body longer. So I'm just about at the point where I'm going to be starting the triangle again. And yeah, it's a really clever pattern. It's perfect beach knitting, and the yarn is very lightweight, I have to say. It is, I believe, 100% superwash merino, maybe with a little bit of nylon in there. I have to find the tag. I don't have it on me right now, but I'm looking on my floor in case I see it, which I don't. I did not swatch, of course. I'm using the needle size called for, which is, I believe, a US size 4 3.5 millimeter needle. I am using a 24-inch circular for magic looping, but I think I'm gonna switch back to a 16-inch circular, just so I don't have to keep pulling in and out, and I can just go round and round, if that makes sense. Of course that makes sense. Why wouldn't it make sense? Yeah, so there's that. And then I'm also alternating skeins. So with hand-dyed yarn, it's always a good idea to alternate skeins while you're knitting to avoid any pooling, any flashing that might occur with hand-dyed yarn. You know, again, every hand-dyed yarn is different. You don't know what's going to happen. So just for precaution's sake, I am alternating skeins. Ideally, I should be pulling from the center of one of them, because if you think about it, when you break the yarn and then just continue with the other one, you're really just continuing the skein. I don't know. It's, you know, whatever. But this is just a fun beach knit for me, and there's where we are. So yeah, that is my ripple bralette / tank top, and yeah, by Barnyard, and the yarn again, Barnyard Knits in their Winterberry colorway, a skein that I picked up at Vogue Knitting Live last January. So yes, and that is living in my Floofhunta project bag that I picked up from the EYF Edinburgh Yarn Festival this past March by Yarnistry, and they have very awesome project bags and knitting notions and the like, in case you are curious. I'll link to all these people down below so you can easily check them out. Next up, I am very well caffeinated today, my friends. It's one of those mornings. But anyway, living in this lug of a pouch, if you want to call it that, is my Penguono. Yeah, and this I haven't put any work on in the past week, I want to say, but I did finish welting. I did finish the welt. So phase welting is all done. We have a back portion, and now I'm just knitting the sides, and then it's all just going to be a continuation of, I think, just a lot of my like patchwork, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. Just a lot of marling and mixing and matching of scrap yarn. So really, this is definitely like one of those projects where I pick up kind of like the crochet stripe granny blanket, which I have not picked up for ages, but this, I feel like it holds my attention because as you're knitting it, it's just growing into this awesome cardigan of awesome, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is where I am with my Penguono, a awesome pattern by Stephen West, who, by the way, just released a mini Penguono pattern for all the little wee ones out there, and it is super adorable, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. But yeah, Penguono's for everybody, right? Everyone deserves a Penguono because it's awesome. But anyway, yeah, just a mishmash of scrap yarn from my stash, and really happy that I'm able to be putting those to use because they've just been sitting there in the bin, hanging out, waiting. All right, so that is all my knitting projects that I've been working on lately, guys. Yeah, again, as I said, I've been kind of like in a knitting slump, whatever you want to call it, dip. So, and you know, when that happens, I've just come to the point where it's like, when that happens, I just let it happen. If I'm going to be in a knitting slump, I'm going to be in a knitting slump. If I don't feel like knitting, I'll sew. I'll do something else. It gives me a chance to kind of like tinker around with other hobbies, other crafts, and just kind of, you know, broaden my horizons a little bit. And I'm okay with that. I used to be kind of frustrated by that, but now I'm just kind of sitting with it, if that makes any sense. So that's all right. I'm trying to think what else. All right, so those are all my knitting projects. I'm gonna move along to sewing because, my friends, I have been doing quite a bit of sewing. Lots of sewing, actually. I've been pounding the sewing machine. This has been getting so much use this past couple of weeks. I think Dennis was a little worried that I would not come out of my craft room because I was like, yeah, he's like, you were just kind of in your own little world there. I'm like, yeah, I was in deep. So anyway, enough talking about the rabbit hole of sewing that I fell down to. Let's talk about what I made. And I'm currently wearing two of my finished objects. This is the Hunter Tank by Jennifer Lauren Handmade. So she's got I stumbled on her website a while ago, but only when I was looking on the foldline.com. I was just looking for a basic tank top that I could sew up for myself. I needed a black tank top that I could just chuck on over whatever. And this popped up, and I am such a sucker for shirts or anything with like a knot or a tie in it. So I will stand up so you can see. I have string. Hello. Yeah, so again, this is the Hunter Tank, and it's a crop top type tank top, and again, it has a knot right here, so it ties around my belly button area, and then it has, because it's black, you're probably not even going to be able to see this, but it has a seam down the front and a seam down the back, and let me see, bias binding all around the armhole and the neckline. And I will sit down again so you can see my face. And yeah, it's like ideally it's a very simple pattern to construct. However, the fabric that I'm using, of course, is a little fiddly. It's kind of like this rayon challis fabric, I want to say. There's definitely, like, I'm not gung-ho about the nylon or polyester content in this. In fact, I'm actually wisening up to the fact that anything with polyester or nylon synthetic content in it is just something I want to avoid altogether because it's not breathable, especially for the summer. Like this tank, it's been getting a lot of love these past few weeks. So I've been wearing it a lot, and thankfully, because, you know, the short sleeves and everything, I haven't been dyeing in it or anything. I've just been wearing it and feeling comfortable. But I think anything else with like longer sleeves, I would just be sweating like crazy in it. So moving forward, whenever I purchase fabrics, I'm definitely going to avoid synthetic fiber content, especially because it's, you know, I do want to start becoming more environmentally conscious when it comes to purchasing fabric and sewing and whatnot. I've actually been binge listening to the Love to Sew podcast. Again, because when you're in a sewing rabbit hole, I personally just want to listen to all the things sewing. So yeah, I definitely fell down a rabbit hole of listening to all of the Love to Sew podcasts, and they have a couple of episodes on sustainable sewing and all that good stuff. So I've definitely been learning about that and becoming more conscious when it comes to purchasing fabrics. And yeah, but anyway, all that to say that this has polyester. This has some nylon content in it. But yeah, again, it's not the end of the world. I wear it to death, and I'm definitely going to be making another one of these, probably out of a jersey cotton. And yeah, it's just such a great pattern, so highly recommend it. And then the other thing that I'm wearing is a Zinnia skirt that I whipped up last minute before Dennis and I went away to the beach, and I just realized I had nothing practical. You're not going to be able to see this, but I will stand back. And this is view A. So they have two views for the Zinnia pattern. It's a pattern by Colette Patterns, and this is the first view where it's a button-down skirt, and then there are like 2 patch pockets on the front. I omitted those patch pockets and added inseam pockets because I don't know. I'm not that crazy about the patch pockets. But this fabric, if I can show it to you up close, again, this is a linen polyester blend again. And when I purchased this, I didn't really realize that there was polyester in it. I just liked the way it looked. So yeah, but again, because I think that if this was pure linen, it wouldn't be as drapey as this. And I really like this fabric for the drape. So, and yeah, it's kind of like a drapey chambray, which is very rare to find. I don't know, like all the chambrays that I've worked with, they have kind of like a stiff hand, kind of denim, but this is definitely very, very drapey. I would say like a cross between a challis and a chambray. And yeah, it's just a really, really great, simple, gathered, button-down skirt. And yeah, it's, again, like, I've been sewing a lot of things that I really, like, I love the silhouettes, I love the way they look, but for me, they're not so practical. And I feel like this whole outfit is, like, nail on the head practical as far as, like, what I would wear on a daily basis. So I'm definitely going to be making another one of these skirts in black. And again, this one was so quick to whip up. I did make 2 versions of the View B, which has pleats, and it's not button down. It just has like pleats and I believe some inseam pockets as well. But that one I don't really wear because, again, I'm just not a really pleaty person, if that makes sense. But this one, I was just like, I really do need a button down skirt with pockets just for my day-to-day. And yeah, again, head over heels in love with this skirt. If I do make it again, I made, what is it, the 20, because again, I have a 26-inch waist, so I made the size 26, and the finished garment size was supposed to be a size 26-inch waist, but if you can see, it sits, comfortably around my waist. Like, this is my natural waist, but I think if I make it again, I'm going to take it in another inch so it sits a little bit higher. But again, it doesn't look bad on me. It falls right below, it's a little longer, so I think for the next version I'm going to shorten it. And it falls about like 3 inches below my knee, which is fine. So I'm trying to think what else I want to say about this. Yeah, really great, simple, easy beginner pattern. Would highly recommend it if you are just dipping your toes into sewing. I will say if you're not comfortable with sewing buttonholes, I would definitely do a little practice run before creating a buttonhole on the finished garment. That's the only major learning curve I would say about if you're a beginner sewer and want to make this pattern. Just give the buttonhole thing a little bit of practice and it'll be a no-brainer. Yeah, and I'm trying to think what else I want to say about this pattern. I think that's all she wrote. So, ooh, there's a lot of parking happening outside my window. Next up on the sewing docket is an accessory that I sewed. Yeah, so if you recall last episode, I was looking for a tote bag to sew for myself, and I had also purchased some fabric from fabric.com. They were having a sale on some of their Liberty linen. I want to say it's like a cross between linen and canvas. They call it linen, but it definitely feels like exterior canvas, if that makes sense. So I showed it off last week, and since then it has become a tote bag, and I'm so stinking in love with this bag, guys. It is so cool. I love it. So again, like, this is some really beautiful an Art Nouveau print by Liberty of London Fabrics, and then just some duck canvas underneath for the base. And yeah, if you can see really close, this is the Woolwax tote bag by Noodlehead Patterns, and she's actually responsible for or contributed to that one issue of Making, where they have the Making backpack that everyone again made. Emily made 2 versions of those, and it's just such a cool little pattern. But she has like a whole library of different types of totes and project bags that you can make. And this one just spoke to me. It was just something that I was like, yeah, I will totally get a lot of wear out of this. So yeah, if you can see, it has 2 front pockets in the middle, in the front of it, so you know, I can stick my wallet, my phone, my keys, stuff that in my other tote bags that I'm usually fishing around the bottom or inside my bags for. So here I love the fact that I can just keep it on the outside. And then it also has a little fancy, let me see. And here, if you can see that, it has a really fancy little kind of rivet detail, which is a little metal stud, which was actually easier to install than I thought it was going to be. I basically just took an awl, popped a hole in the fabric all the way through. I didn't hammer it because the fabric was already thick enough where I could just easily snap it together. So I was surprised that came together really well. And then I just have webbing for, I have a lot of thread hanging out, guys. And I just use webbing for the handles. And the interior is probably one of my favorite things too, because it's sparkly linen. Yeah. And if this looks familiar, if you've been with the podcast, this is the same fabric that I used to sew my Grace corset top by Named Patterns. So I had a lot of that left over. So I figured, you know, when you have Liberty fabric, when you're making a Liberty fabric tote, it definitely calls for some sparkly lining, I think. So anyway, really happy with the way this turned out. Pattern matching, very happy with the way that turned out. Yeah. So here you can see it matches up, not perfectly, but it's acceptable in my for my standards. It's acceptable, because yeah, it is a little off, but you know, from far away it looks pretty flush. And then here's the back, so that's just plain. And then yeah, so that is my Woolwax tote by Noodlehead, and of course I will post a link to this down below if you want to make your own. And yeah, just a really, like, honestly, that day that I made it, I wasn't even planning on doing any sewing, but I was like, all right, I'm just going to cut out the pieces so they're ready. And then 3 hours later, I had myself a new tote. I was like, well, that was fast. So, yeah, these are, again, super quick to whip up, and they make great gifts too, you know? I mean, hey. Yeah, so that is my sewing for this week, guys. I do have more sewing projects that I've finished, but I'm going to hold off on talking about those for another episode. But I do have more sewing plans for this weekend. Again, I'm going to make another Zinnia skirt in black. I did convince Dennis to make a pit stop at Joann Fabrics on the way back from Connecticut, and because we don't have a Joann Fabric here in New York. We have Michael's, but they don't have fabric. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that they had some really nice, decent fabrics. They do have linen, so I picked up, again, it's very similar to this my Zinnia skirt fabric. It's kind of like this, it's 100% linen, but it's kind of like this chambray effect, and it does wrinkle, but like with a little ironing. It does have really nice drapes, so I think the more you wash it, the more malleable it'll be, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I was very conscious this time when I purchased it, to make sure that there was no nylon in here. Although I did, for my next Zinnia skirt, I did pick up this fabric. It's black linen with a little bit of polyester content in here, only because they did have 100% linen black, but that just felt really stiff, and this one felt like it just had like a nice drape. So yeah, you can't even see the texture because it's black. But yeah, this is going to be my next Zinnia skirt. And yeah, even if it had, you know, has a little bit of polyester content, you know, that's fine, especially if it's a skirt. But anyway, I'm definitely becoming more conscious when it comes to shopping for, you know, fabrics and what their content is. But you know. And that is it for sewing this week. I am going to move along to the Blather segment, a segment where I chat about what's been happening in my life, should you care to stick around. But before I do that, I'm just going to give you guys a quick heads up about my shop update. By the time this episode is published, it will already be Friday, July 12th, but my update will be on July 12th at 5 p.m. Eastern time, so I hope you guys can make it. And I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who shopped my last update last week. It was a very small update. I did one last round of kits for Helen Stewart's Impressionist shawl. I revived the kits. I stopped dyeing them for a while, but the past 3 weeks I've been dyeing them again because I know some of you have been wanting to get your mitts on them. So yeah, I did 3 straight weeks of dyeing those kits, and now I'm taking a break from it for at least a little while. Before I dye any more kits for that pattern again. So thank you so much to everybody who shopped that update, and also for those of you who subscribe to the Gothic Yarn Club. I have been getting a lot of requests for a yarn club like that, and I've been wanting to do one that was kind of Gothic themed, because I've been reading a lot of Gothic horror, Gothic romances, a lot of classics lately, so the timing seemed appropriate for that. So again, thank you so much to everybody who signed up for that. The spots are very limited, so if you missed out, I'm sorry you missed out. I hope to do another yarn club soon in 3 months time, so hopefully you'll have another chance to jump in on the yarn club after that. And as always, if you would like to be looped in about what colorways and yarn bases are going to be in each update, do sign up for the newsletter. I send one out once a week letting you guys know what is going to be in every shop update. So yeah, and as always, if you do sign up for that, thank you so much. Okay, so life stuff. As I mentioned, Dennis and I, we got out of the city. We went up to Connecticut for a little beach getaway. We went to Hammonasset Beach. We actually stayed at a bed and breakfast. I have never stayed at a bed and breakfast before. How crazy is that? But yeah, it was a really, really cute place. It was this it was essentially a Victorian gingerbread house. Very, very chintzy on the inside, lots of floral wallpaper, carpeting, and flowers everywhere, Yankee Candle. It was like I want to say it was like, you know, Groundhog Day, that place that Bill Murray stayed in, but a lot nicer though. And the woman who runs the place, she had all these Victorian Edwardian fashion plates mounted on the wall. So, you know, you go upstairs and you just see them, all the little fashion plates like decorating the walls. And it was a really, really cute little place. And then the place was packed. It was a full house. But we walked to this area behind the bed and breakfast, which, you know, if you keep going back, it led to a salt marsh with a stream, or a river, I should say, with some Adirondack chairs. And, you know, we just kind of hung out there. We brought a bottle of wine. We sat and just stared at nature. It was just so nice to disconnect and just sit and listen to silence or just, you know, like it was just so nice to just escape the city, because here you hear the podcast in the background, the ambient noise. It's just constant noise. And in my aging years, I am realizing how much I just cannot tolerate noise as much as I used to. So yeah, that was really, really nice to just kind of escape the noise and just listen to nature and enjoy the silence, so to speak. So yeah, there was that, and then we ate a lot of seafood. As I mentioned, we went to the beach, and then we, you know, on our way back, we did a little antiquing. We stopped in some shops and everything, which was really fun. And then on our way back, we stopped off at IKEA, picked up some essentials, and I am actually giving my craft room an overhaul this week. You know, I had actually purchased an ironing board to keep in my craft room because I had been going back and forth between our, you know, bedroom and my craft room to do all my ironing for sewing. And Dennis got a little annoyed by that, you know, that I was leaving the iron on so much and I was going back and forth. And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to get my own ironing board, my own iron, and keep it in my craft room. And I realized I've been using my ironing board as a surface for pinning and cutting. And I realized, why don't I just get a cutting table? Like just rig something up and get a cutting table, because I have like a really, one of those really long IKEA desks against the back wall, and I really don't use, you know, it's an old table, and I was definitely in the market for like a new desk and everything. So I'm like, all right, why don't I just get rid of this desk, and I can go to IKEA and get some new tables and a new smaller desk. So that's what we did. I got one of those basic, I have the other table over here, those Linneman table surfaces. I think they're like $29 each or whatever. So I got a smaller one, and then I got two longer ones, and I'm just gonna rig up a whole new crafting area in my craft room. So yeah, I set up, I'm looking at it right now. I have my smaller desk set up and one of the bigger, longer tables set up, and yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna do a whole craft room tour of this, guys, so you can see what it looks like and what I'm talking about. But I'm very, very excited to finally have like a surface for me to just spread out instead of like using my floor and killing my back, because that was really, really getting to me. Yeah, if you sew and you just cut on your floor, you know what a pain in the butt it is. And then like you're down there, and then when you stand up, you get the head rush and everything. So anyway, I was just like, you know what? Let me just make my life a lot easier. So yeah, I was really able to do that on a really good budget. I think like altogether it came to like $200 for the tables. And then yeah, the challenging part is just assembling the whole thing. So yeah, anyway, very, very excited about that. And again, I'm gonna make a small video giving you a tour of the new craft setup. Yeah, so I think that is it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. As always, I generally publish a new video every Friday, although I am toying with the idea of switching it to Wednesdays. What do you guys think about that? Would you prefer to have an episode midweek or on the weekends? Either way, the video is going to get published and you'll be able to watch it at your leisure. But I think for my schedule, I'm just toying with the idea of doing it Wednesdays. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud. But anyway, again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to like and subscribe below. And I will see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye. And sewing.